Hello, everyone. I'm Noreen, the founder of Inspiring Women in Hospitality, and today I'm with Erika. Erika, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Noreen, as well, for having me today.
So, Erika, tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Erika Bucsi. I live in Austria. I was born in Hungary, but I spent most of my life in hospitality in abroad, somewhere around the world. So over 20 plus years in hotel management and then eventually in technology. So I studied tourism, I studied hotel management. It was always my passion to be part of the industry. So that's what kind of links me with Vienna. That's where I studied hospitality, and then I went to the US and I worked most of my time in hotels in London, in large meetings and events hotels, focusing mainly on commercial disciplines and eventually MICE revenue. And then 11 years ago, I joined hospitality technology companies, and since then I'm on the dark side, and but still, of course, close to my passion, which is hospitality.
Yeah, and I think that's how we got to know each other when you joined the hospitality tech side, and I was also with STR at the time, so I guess we were both in the vendor vendor space, so to speak. And
Yes.
yeah, we came across when you were quite active with Raise Up as well, and then I started doing my work, and that's I think we found some commonality there as well. And thank you for being a support with the work that I've been doing, really from the very beginning. So I really appreciate you being here and being part of this journey. So you mentioned a few things in terms of where you've been, how hospitality has always been the core of your career. You've been to different countries, you've had different types of role. Could you share with the listeners some of the career highlights that you've had?
I would say highlights were definitely initially my studies in Vienna because I studied in Modul where similarly like you in Lausanne, you do come across or come close to the industry in a very different aspect than just being in a university. You really get the hands-on experience. You speak to people from the industry, which is really exciting when you learn from people who are actually working in hospitality. And then after that, I would say the highlight was during my hotel times, the opening project I did with Park Plaza Westminster Bridge in London. When I was studying in Vienna, my professor, who was our hospitality kind of feasibility study professor and bookkeeping and so on, he said to me all the time that until you do an opening, you don't really know exactly what it means to work in hospitality and work in hotels. So that was always in the back of my mind, no matter what role or job I was in hotels, that I have to do an opening once. I didn't expect it to be the biggest opening for 50 years in Europe that I will be involved in. So it was probably the right step in learning really, openings instead of just doing one, just do the biggest one. But that was an experience that I will never forget because of probably the first experience where I also was doing something from scratch. So I was able, even though I had a lot of knowledge from previous brands where I worked at, like Hilton, and of course that is a great foundation. But in that particular role during the opening, I had a lot of freedom to be creative and make the already good processes even better. What I learned over the years. So that was probably the first place where I could add my own mark on the business and what we actually achieved, rather than just following the processes that were set in the big book that you get from the brands. So and then after that, I think the next big step for me was really when I went into technology. That was the role that I took on initially with Newmarket, which is now part of Amadeus, and I started selling Delphi. But the reason why that particular role was so defining in a way is because I ended up not just doing sales, but joining a 6 months project, deploying one of the biggest customers in Europe. And that was by chance. They signed a contract on the basis of let's roll this out within 6 months. Of course, as anyone knows who is in technology, that's really hard when it comes to a big chain. If they give you that deadline that okay, fine, we signed the deal, but then you have 6 months to actually deploy. So they had to pull in at Amadeus anyone and everyone really from all other departments who wanted to be part of it to deliver the project successfully. And I had the language skills as well, which came handy. And I was also excited to learn about operations, so really understand how we do these kind of projects in technology, right? How do you do the discoveries, creating the workbooks, implement, train? So I really did the full circle of project management, and that was definitely a place where I, again, like with the opening, I learned a lot, and not just what I do day to day, but something that normally you would not be exposed to.
Thank you, Erika, for sharing that. And I think now anyone listening will understand why I asked Erika to be one of the facilitators at the upcoming Inspire Influence Live in London. You know, it is people like yourselves that will be in the room with us, acting as facilitator at one of the round tables, sharing your advice and your wisdom as we go through the different workshops throughout the day. So in the morning, it's going to be more business focused, where we have business case studies that we will be sort of workshopping, then pitching and practicing and delivering. You know, a lot of that experience that you just shared will come in handy. But then the second half is the self-advocacy piece, right? Making sure that you're either creating those opportunities or going after those opportunities and saying yes. We have done more in-depth recording of your story in the podcast, so there's a lot more, and I might share that here as well when I share this video. But it's really, the woman in the room like yourself that's going to be coaching, mentoring, guiding everybody at each of the tables. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And the theme for the time that we're going to be spending together in London is all about influence, because I believe that anyone can have influence within an organization. You don't have to be the most senior person in the room. So why is influence important in the workplace?
To me, influence is really about trust and relationship. I know it probably means everyone something else or something different, but that's where I see that for me it is really about trust and relationship, and it comes into play not just when it when you manage a team, let's say, but also when you manage upwards or even downwards. So in all aspects of your professional career, it does help a lot if you can be influential, but through really building that trust and relationship. And that also, of course, helps with customers if you look after customers. So really every aspect of life, or not just work life, but even personal life. And I believe that it can really help with collaboration, with being creative, inspire others, but also maybe motivate your own team or motivate yourself. So that's why I think influence is a great topic also for the event in November in London.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And, so far I've spoken to Jane and Laura and now you. And, the beauty of each one of you is that you do have different experiences that you're going to be bringing to each of the tables. And that's important because us as individuals, we're all unique and we're all different. And there'll be things that people will connect with, that they may connect more with you or more with Laura or with Jane. We've got 7 facilitators who are going to be with us on the day. So there's a little bit of something for everyone to connect with. And so I would love for you, as we end this conversation today, to share a story about influence.
For me, one of the main stories I can really highlight is when I started working with my current company, and that was actually part of another company at that point, or we got acquired a year ago. And back then it was a very small team, but a very passionate team that was working really globally on trying to achieve, of course, the success that the business wanted to achieve. And I started really initially only in sales, let's say in a commercial discipline. And as I kind of grew with the company over the first couple of years, I managed to build a trust and also, show what I can deliver, and gain that trust and from leadership to then allow me to drive the whole strategy for the company in EMEA and APAC. And for me, that was something that I didn't even imagine maybe initially, because you go into a role, you know what your job spec is. And in most cases, after a couple of months or 6 months into the role, you are very comfortable. So you could just cruise along and do the job, right? But for me, that is never something that I enjoyed. I always like to get out of my comfort zone and learn new things, or also, you know, be creative and maybe make my own recommendations on what can be done better. So I really appreciated that I was able to, of course, showcase that things can be done differently, and also in a way that I got then that trust to deliver that and also drive that strategy over the last few years now across EMEA and APAC. And I think it all was down to trust, like I said, because not just towards my management team or the owners or the board, but also with my own team, because there were lots of difficult times during these 5, 6, 7 years by now, and lots of changes, of course, as always in businesses. But as long as the team is there to really support the same goal and really comes together to deliver that idea or project, then it usually drives, you know, overall the business forward, and also helps for everyone to achieve also professionally what they are trying to achieve. So a lot of people ask me why I'm still in this role, and that's the reason. It is because I was able to kind of reinvent every few years, do something new, try something else, especially, you know, on the project-based work, and that really helped also the team to stay engaged and stay kind of focused, because they could also, next to their normal day-to-day roles, do something exciting that, you know, they could then say, oh, this is something what we achieved together. But I also believe that, you know, for the company to put that face into a single individual and a couple of team members that I brought together, it's also a big risk in a way, right? So, and that's why I think, again, going back to influence and how it connects with trust is key, because people have to give you that trust. Otherwise, you will never be able to really deliver any project. They have to have that faith in you and in your team and the capabilities of the team. So, and this really resonates with me, that I thought influence for some people might be like power or, you know, something different, right, than what I'm talking about. But I do believe that you can influence through relationships.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe in.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that trust and relationship piece with influence, it's influence is not something, like you're saying, it's not that being forced to do something, right? But it's more that subtlety, and it's like influence, but also inspiring people to come along with you on that
Yeah.
journey and creating that, yeah, faith in yourself or with each other, right? That belief
Hmm.
with each other that
Yeah.
we're both committed, or both all parties are committed, and we can deliver on whatever it is that we're working on. Erika, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be spending the day with you on the 7th, and let's see who are the lucky people who get to be on your table. So
Thank
thank
you
you so
again.
much.
Thank you, Noreen.